A London number, please. Klinsky's. Klinsky's auction house. Thank you. 071.
Oh, your ma's not in here, is she, Master Hector?
7273. No, Nanny, Mrs. Bovington's not in here.
Out in the garden, is she? And her with a cold. Well, she wouldn't be so foolish.
No, Nanny, I'm sure she wouldn't.
You're not doing any more of that telephoning, surely?
Just a short one, Nanny.
Yes, well, you just try and remember your ma's telephone bills.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be out there. You'll catch your death.
Klinsky's. Hello, can I speak to Nicholas Roper, please?
Rubens? Isn't he the chap that does the big tits and bums? Yes, of course, we've got an expert on the subject. No, not on tits and bums, you idiot. On Rubens.
Oh, Ella sings The Golden Years of Gershwin.
Just what you wanted.
Well, of course. I'll play it and think of you.
It was a general idea.
Happy birthday, Maggie.
Oh, thanks, Annabelle. Thanks very much.
There you are. You look gorgeous.
It must be the new tie. I decided to throw caution to the wind.
Oh, hello, Ben. Absolutely gorgeous, Maggie. I think this may possibly excite you.
You don't mean you remembered?
Oh, is it your birthday?
Well, yes, actually.
What a surprise.
Not really. Happens every year.
Well, I've got something. A surprise for you, anyway. What would you say to a Rubens?
Well, thanks. Just exactly what I wanted.
I think I found you one. In Sussex, actually.
Where did you pick it up? A car boot sale?
No, darling, that's what I came to tell you. I keep getting phone calls from dear old Marilyn Bovington.
Ah, some woman you're interested in.
No, Bovington's not a woman, not at all. He's Member of Parliament for some or other, Parliamentary Private Secretary or something else. He got the name Marilyn because he was rather a pretty boy in the lower school. He's gone off a lot now, of course.
Have I thanked my lucky stars I never went to your old school?
Anyway, his real name's Hector, and his ma owns the Moat House, which has been in the Bovington family since 1400 and something. Now, the point is...
Oh, there is a point, is there?
Yes. The point is, old Hector rings me to say he's unearthed this Rubens in his ma's attic.
Better bring it in here and have a word with us.
Not a chance. He's keeping the whole thing secret from the rest of the family for the moment. He's not quite sure how his ma would react to the idea of untold wealth in the attic.
So, what does he suggest?
That I drop in, as an old school chum, and take a look at the hidden treasure. Portrait of a woman with the kids, apparently. Fully dressed. Now, the idea is we're on a sort of holiday, touring England with you two as friends of mine. And Hector has asked me to lunch, and I've said, can I bring you both as well? That's for the benefit of his ma.
You mean I've chosen to go on holiday with you?
That's the idea.
Well, if his ma believes that, she'll believe anything.
Art, to me, means an interpretation of society. To you, I suppose it means money.
I suppose to me it means pleasure.
Pleasure? What, so, you mean the whole world of art is just an enormous brothel?
God, it's cold here. Can't think why Mike's mother needs to lash out on a freezer.
Tell me, does anyone at Klinsky's take art seriously?
Mike, try not to argue. My husband can't stop arguing. I tell him he could be teaching literature in Ohio State if only he didn't argue all the time.
I thought chaps from auction houses were all frightfully intellectual and terrifying.
Well, I'm not exactly a chap.
Well, that's wonderfully obvious, if you don't mind me saying so. I mean girls like you.
I say, do you have to look round the room for bids and bang with a hammer and all that? How enormously impressive.
My wife is so easily impressed. It'd be silly, Mousekin. Of course, Maggie doesn't bang the hammer herself.
Oh, yes, I do. All the time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you actually did.
Oh, yes. All the time.
Isn't that a contemporary photograph of Charles Dickens?
Oh, did you recognize it? How clever of you.
Well, it's quite well known. Who did the photograph belong to, I wonder?
Probably one of the maids.
Mike.
Well, there's someone who liked bad jokes and sloppy sentimentality.
Mike lectures in literature at Stoke. His special subject is D.H. Lawrence.
There used to be a story about Dickens coming down to Bovington. My husband's great, whatever it was, knew him at the Garrick Club and invited him down.
Well, then thousands of people must have stayed here. What on earth does Dickens matter?
And he took quite a shine to Edward's great-great-grandmother, Henrietta. They used to do theatricals together in the hall.
Ma, it's the text that matters, not gossip about the writers. Examine Dickens's text. Then wash your sticky fingers and read Sons and Lovers.
I think coffee in the library. Would that be all right, Nanny?
Well, they haven't finished the puddings, some of your guests. Is this meant to be finished?
Thank you, it was delicious.
Well, if it was delicious, like you said, why didn't you eat it up?
I'm just going to take Maggie out to the rose garden.
Oh, really, Miss Barone? Are you interested in rose gardens in general?
Don't be silly, Mouskin.
Well, as a matter of...
You'll be very interested in this one.
Don't you think you ought to have something on your feet? It's terribly wet.
And Arctic. Well, I have got shoes.
Oh, not those delicate little pumps, miss. If you please. There's plenty of wellies in the back passage.
Come on, Maggie. Let's get you some gumboots.
So, you all like to come and drink? Thank you. So, you were at school with my son Hector.
Oh, yes, we were terrifically good friends.
Tell me, did he have a nickname? He said all the boys had nicknames. What fun. What was Hector's nickname?
Oh, we used to call him we called him Marmaduke.
Marmaduke? Why on earth?
Well, just because he was so terribly good at everything.
I thought we were going to the rose garden.
The Rubens. I wanted you to be the first. Quite alone. I didn't want the others to influence you.
I promise you, I'm quite capable of making up my own mind.
No. Not a word to Ma or Nanny Tucker.
Good grief.
To Henrietta Bovington, this little ghost story from which we took the play you acted in so charmingly. A tribute from her fellow player and great admirer, Charles Dickens. The Moat House, summer 59. I say, Ben, is that important?
Well, if it's right, it could be. I'm no manuscript man.
Not as important as a Rubens, sir. I wonder where the hell he's taken Maggie.
You're jealous.
Don't be ridiculous. All the same, I expect you quite like me to keep an eye on her. They always find a bit of anxiety quite flattering, don't they?
I sincerely hope so. The Spectre at the Feast. A ghost story by C.D.
Well, what do you think it is?
I know what it is. It's Hélène Formand with two of her children.
This, Elaine, friend of Rubens, was she?
I suppose you could say so. He married her when she was 16.
Did he, by God? Well, I suppose a lot of that sort of thing goes on in the art world.
A lot of what?
Sex.
I suppose a lot of that goes on everywhere.
When I first saw you, I knew we'd hit it off.
Did you really?
Of course, I could always offer it to Sotheby's or Christie's.
I suppose you could.
But I've always had a bit of a soft spot for dear old Klinsky's.
Very touching.
A Rubens would be a big plus for you. Picture of the year and so on. Of course, if I promise you you can sell this masterpiece, I mean you personally, not one of your rivals, you and I could become really close friends. Maggie.
Have sex, you mean?
Well, you do come straight out with it, don't you?
You're suggesting that I'd have sex to get a Rubens for Klinsky's?
Wouldn't you?
I don't know. Perhaps I might. I haven't really thought about it. Luckily, the matter doesn't arise.
What do you mean?
I mean, whatever I do for a Rubens, I wouldn't do for that daub.
What? What do you mean, daub?
Because the real painting of the beautiful Hélène and their children is safely in the Louvre. And what you're asking me to take my clothes off for is a rather indifferent copy, bought by some gullible Bovington in the last century, I should imagine. This visit has been a complete waste of time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you should be, Marilyn.
Are you really interested in roses, Mr. Glazier?
I'm rather more interested in Dickens. Mrs. Bovington, I found this in your library.
Oh, those dusty old albums. Nanny Tucker wouldn't let the children touch them. She said they would get their clothes grubby. And we always thought they looked terribly dull.
Well, perhaps not quite as dull as all that. You say that Charles Dickens visited Bovington.
That's the story we were told. It might be pure fiction.
Well, he certainly left a bit of fiction here, a ghost story called Spectre at the Feast.
My father never read us that one.
Well, as far as I know, it's never been published before. It would appear to be in manuscript form.
You mean as he wrote it?
That's exactly what I do mean. I'm not an expert at all. Henry Quarles is our man of manuscripts, but an unpublished Dickens story could be worth, well, a very great deal of money.
Oh, dear. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Why?
Well, I haven't got a lot of money. We can't have the heating on, and Mike's wife complains. Usually we don't drink very much, an occasional sherry when we have visitors. I've got this house and garden, of course. We get on very well here. And Nanny Tucker's a tower of strength. A lot of money? That might be very embarrassing. I really wouldn't want anything to change.
But will you lend me assured to Henry Quarles, just so we know what sort of money we're talking about?
Well, I suppose so. Is that what you'd advise me to do?
No harm in knowing.
Thank you. But please, Mr. Glazier, don't say anything to the family about this. Especially not to Hector. I wouldn't want anyone to be upset.
I've been looking for you everywhere.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
What about the Rubens?
What Rubens? Oh, yes. It's in the Louvre. Certainly isn't in Bovington Moat House.
You don't think it's right?
I know it's not right. And I also know that your old school chum Hector is a complete prat. But go and find Ben. We're not wasting any more time in Sussex.
The Mouton Rothschild 77. It really is a bit choice.
Oh, marvellous. I only wish I could afford to bid for it. Tell me, Nick, that old fellow you brought down to Bovington...
Ben Glazier.
Glazier, that's it. Yes. Tell me, is he a little bit sweet on that Maggie Perrone?
I think he is.
Yes, I rather got that impression. This is the point, Nick. I've reason to believe that he went off with something from the Moat House under his arm.
What?
One of the old family albums from the library.
You mean he nicked it?
Oh, no, not that. No, I think Ma let him take it. The sinister fact is, she hasn't said a word to me about it. I mean, I have a right to know, don't I? So, Nick, do you think you could find out what the hell it was he took?
I know what he took. It was a manuscript by Dickens, apparently.
Good God, Dickens. Is it worth a bob or two?
I imagine so.
Do you think you could find out?
Of course, I have a word with our chap.
There'd be something in it for you, if you take my meaning.
That's the sort of language I find perfectly easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Ned Bovington was a member of the Garrick Club and had taken Dickens's side during the row with Thackeray. Poor Charles. He was in a bit of a turmoil. Marriage broken up, in love with a younger woman.
Good chap.
1859. He started A Tale of Two Cities, working flat out, but in a letter to Wilkie Collins, he says this: "A friend from the club is summoning me to a week in the country. A house among apple trees and flowering cherries, also ornamented by a flowering of daughters. There's a rumor we may have theatricals."
You think it might be right?
The paper's right. The handwriting, the watermark, the history. Yes, Ben, you have dug us up a bit of buried treasure.
How much would you say?
A reserve of, what, 75,000. I hope we get more.
I'm afraid the owner's going to find that rather worrying.
Excuse me, Ben.
Oh, what are you up to?
I'm just trying to flog Henry Quarles a couple of cases of the Latour 82. No more than that, quite honestly.
Quite honestly, that means don't believe a word of it.
A reserve of 75. What? Well, of course Klinsky's will get it. Do you think we're going to leave it here gathering dust in the library? Thank you, Nick. And, of course, I'll see you right, old chap. You know that, don't you? Right you are. Ma, I think it's about time we had a word about Dickens.
How kind of you to come, Mr. Glazier. We do rely on you.
Good evening, Mrs. Bobby.
It had to be dinner. Hector's so busy, poor boy.
The price seems excellent. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? As I read the market, now would be a good time to sell. Would Mr. Glazier agree?
You haven't read the manuscript?
No. Have you brought it down with you?
Yes, of course. We can't keep it unless it's Mrs. Bobbington's decision to sell.
But it is your decision, isn't it, Ma? I was not doing a damn thing for us, sitting on a bookshelf gathering dust.
I'm not sure. Really, I can't be sure. What do you really think, Mr. Glazier?
It's not what Mr. Glazier thinks, and it's not only just what you think, Ma, quite honestly. This is family property. Like the house, it'll go to the family. Here's a chance for the family to improve its cash flow situation.
Improve yours, you mean?
I'm thinking of the family. People seem to forget family values nowadays and just run around joyriding in other people's Volvos.
Well, personally, I wouldn't give 2p for a ghost story scribbled by Dickens for so much a bloody lie.
Well, if that's the way you feel, Michael, there's absolutely no need for you to share in it.
Of course there's a need for Mike to share in it. He could take time off. He could do his book on Lawrence. That might get him tenure in California.
You and Michael don't have the same responsibilities as myself. And Mouskin, of course. Just the two of you. Hardly a family in any meaningful sense of the word.
You mean we don't have a brat to send to a highly expensive boarding school?
Malcolm's not a brat, Janet. Malcolm is the next generation. The future of England.
Tongue-tied, tedious, and sexually frustrated.
Not a complaint you've ever suffered from.
Hey, hey, hey.
Please, really, there's absolutely nothing for us to quarrel about.
I don't know what the hell you mean. Mike and I may have had our ups and downs, but we've talked it through and we're committed to each other.
And you don't see why you shouldn't get your hands on a little of the manuscript money.
I just want the advice of all of you.
We do have a brat, as Janet so delightfully put it. His name has been down for my old school since birth. And Mouskin and I are both determined to see him...
Buggered and beaten.
I don't think I heard that, Janet. If a capital sum should come to the family as a result of Mr. Glazier's lucky find, then I suggest any division should take account of Malcolm's need to get a proper start in life.
What do you think, Anthea?
Oh, well, it seems a pity to sell something that's part of the family history.
Mouskin.
But of course Hector's right. We do need to think of Malcolm.
Well, I suppose. What do you really suggest, Mr. Glazier?
I don't think I can suggest anything, Mrs. Bobbington. It's for you to decide what you want to do with your own property.
Are you going to sit up all night wasting the electricity?
No, Nanny. No, of course not.
Time to climb the wooden hill to Bedfordshire.
Good night, Nanny.
I knew she wouldn't keep treating us all as though we were about 6 years old.
Do you, Hector? Do you really? I'm not sure. Life seemed, well, a good deal easier then.
It is not unknown for an aged relative to appear unannounced at a family board and require to be given pride of place at dinner. Such an occurrence would be by no means out of the way, and would make but a tame beginning to a story which, in the telling, seeks to chill the bones of the most rational reader at the most cheerful fireside. But when I tell you that the life of the relative in question had been undoubtedly terminated by a ball shot from a French cannon some 20 years before the night I am about to describe, it may take on a different and more alarming complexion.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
As the oldest son, I think it falls on me to announce the family's decision. We are formally instructing you, as a representative of Klinsky's, to sell our rare and much treasured Dickens manuscript for the highest possible price.
Oh, dear.
Why, what's so dear about it?
I'm afraid I don't have the manuscript. Do any of you?
Of course not.
But you said you'd brought it down with you to await our decision.
I know I did. I know I had it in my room. I read it before I went to sleep. I didn't dream that. But this morning it's slowly and silently vanished away.
It can't have.
If anything has happened to our manuscript, we shall hold you personally responsible.
I must take you to the Lord Chairman.
Am I under arrest?
You're not joking.
A member of Parliament. A parliamentary private secretary at what, Shrewsbury?
European Union, Lord Chairman.
A man of unimpeachable character has made it pretty plain to me on the phone, Glazier, that he suspects you of having
Half-inched.
Of having stolen, I hope you realize the seriousness of the situation, of having stolen what he says is a valuable manuscript. Is it a valuable manuscript?
Extremely valuable.
And have you stolen it?
Look, I was down there. I was reading the manuscript in bed. I put it on the bedside table, and in the morning...
You're not suggesting that the family at Bovington stole their own property. I don't think you find your average jury would take very kindly to that suggestion.
What suggestion would they take kindly? That one of the dogs ate it? A ghost? Why not? It's a ghost story.
I think I ought to tell the meeting that Mr. Glazier did ask accounts for a certain amount of his salary in advance.
I had my eye on something rather glamorous.
You mean a woman?
No, I mean a motorbike. A limited edition K1100LT with an electronic windscreen.
Are we to understand that you stole a Dickens manuscript to buy a motorbike?
No, of course not. That's ridiculous.
That is extremely serious. It's a case which, in our opinion, calls for ruthless investigation.
Well, I'll tell you what you can do for a start. You can take my job and bloody catalogue it. You can put it in the next sale and knock it down to the lowest bidder, and I hope you do a terrible deal. You can ask Hector Bovington MP, exactly where he intends to flog the precious manuscript he pinched from his dear old ma. And when you've done all that, you can write me a grovelling letter of apology addressed to the Uffizi Gallery, Florence, Italy. I'm sorry, Shrewsbury, I've forgotten the postcode.
Excuse me. You're not going to do it.
I'm not going to do what?
Leave.
Just watch me.
Where are you going?
I'll be perfectly contented. Catching drinks in Harry's bar, showing rich Americans around the Botticelli, sitting in the sun doing the Daily Telegraph crossword in the Piazza della Signoria. That's if I'm not arrested at the airport if Lord Fish Fingers down there doesn't get me sewing mailbags in Wandsworth.
I don't think they sew mailbags anymore.
Well, sewing frilly covers and coat hangers washed over by some deeply concerned social worker who's writing a thesis on theft by the senior citizen.
I'm going to miss you.
Oh, for God's sake, Maggie, don't say things like that.
I'm going to miss you very much.
Shut up. You know, that manuscript didn't just melt into thin air. Spectre of the Feast didn't just glide into the other world. I'm pretty sure our Hector stole it.
Why?
Why? Because he wanted some ready money for his young hopeful school fees at some highly expensive penal colony like Eton or some such place. They all go to Eton, all the really dodgy ones.
Nick went to Eton.
Exactly. He stole it from Mrs. Bovington, whose property it undoubtedly is. He didn't want to share his part of the boodle with his boring brother. He nipped into my bedroom and I was enjoying my beauty sleep, and now he's off on some parliamentary mission to Tokyo looking for an anonymous millionaire with a secret store of Dickens manuscripts.
I've had some dealings with Hector Bovington.
Ah, yes, the Rubens that wasn't.
He made me a quite extraordinary proposition.
What do you mean exactly?
I suppose he thinks he rather fancies me.
It's not an unusual complaint.
I mean, I might be able to find out if he's got it.
You mean your ways of making him talk?
Anyway, don't you leave. Not till I've had a go at it.
I'm not sticking around here. I'm not going to give Lord Muse the satisfaction.
Go home. Say you're ill. Skulk in your tent. Say you're dead. Shouldn't take me too long.
It was bad enough at coming to the garden foods. You got staff going home with frozen goods concealed about their person. Petty pilfering. But when you can't trust senior staff with a precious manuscript.
I know. Must be simply ghastly for you, Bernard. So worrying.
I don't even know what it's worth. That's another worry. You can't price anything here. Honestly, Annabelle, you knew where you were with a dozen free-range eggs.
And I think you know where you are with me, Bernard. I just long to be someone you can turn to when you're really worried.
You are. I spotted that the first time we met. A very genuine girl, that. You wouldn't be playing games on Klinsky's. Not like Glazier. Always knew he was a trancer. Like a motorbike, you know. A natural practice for a man of his age.
By the way, Bernard.
Yes. Annabelle.
They went down there for a Rubens. We never heard another word about that.
Sweetheart.
What is it?
Is it right old Ben trousered the Dickens manuscript?
No, it's not.
Marilyn's hopping mad. He's dead keen to get his fingers on it. He asked me to help him in a roundabout sort of way, of course.
And did you, in a roundabout sort of way?
What can I do? Not if your elderly admirer's got it. Level with me, darling.
Sorry, Nick. I've got a date.
I told your chairman, Holloway, that unless Klinsky's and your friend Glazier return our manuscript within the next 48 hours, I shall turn the whole shooting match over to the police.
Quite right.
What?
That's the best thing for you to do. That's a Rubens, just in case you'd like to know what one looks like.
Did you want to persuade me not to report him?
Oh, no. If he's stolen the thing, then that's exactly what you should do. Oh, rather a special little Van der Velde, if you're interested.
If you don't want to protect him, then what am I doing here? The truth, please.
I suppose the truth is I've been thinking about you a lot.
Well, I've been thinking about you a lot, too.
I mean, we seem to get on quite well together.
Oh, absolutely. We hit it off, didn't we?
I always think there's something so glamorous about an MP. I suppose it's power.
And I think that you're an absolutely super girl.
Not here, Hector. Why don't you take me out to dinner, somewhere exciting? Not the Reform Club.
Somewhere really exciting. I bet you've never been to the Conundrum.
I bet I haven't.
Well, there's a first time for everything, isn't there? I do like girls who are smallish, but
Perfectly formed.
the elfin quality, and so full of life. My wife, Mouskin, is hardly elfin.
I'm sorry.
She's larger, actually, than I expected when I took her on. We don't sleep together now, you know. Never share a bedroom, even when we're staying at Mars.
How interesting. I did say that I might be able to help you.
Oh, but you are helping me. You're helping me to put up with all the things I have to put up with. Bloody worries, European biscuit regulations, having to face years of Malcolm's school fees, and Mouskin. I don't mean to treat her badly. It's just when I actually catch sight of her, like some junior who's letting the whole house down, I behave badly. When I catch sight of you, it's entirely different. Any chance of a kiss?
Well, before we start on all that, could we discuss a bit of business?
What sort of business?
That manuscript, you know, there's no need to sell it through Klinsky's.
No.
We could find an eccentric millionaire, someone with a secret collection who'd just like to feel that he owned the thing. Wouldn't want to show it around. Now, that way, we could save Klinsky's commission.
How very interesting.
And there's another advantage.
What?
Your family need never know that it had been recovered. You wouldn't have to share out the dosh. It could be yours, Hector. All yours. And you could take me to this wonderful, glamorous club again.
Wouldn't you want a little more? A little of the proceeds?
Oh, Hector. What a mind reader you are. And so sensitive. I suppose that's why you've had such a brilliant career in politics.
Probably. So the deal is this. You set up a private sale. Not a word to Ma. I collect the proceeds. And what do you get?
Just a little something. So I'll always think of you with astonishing gratitude.
Yes. Why not?
All right. Let's drink to it.
Why don't we dance to it?
Lovely. So, you'll hand over the article in question?
You mean you'll get it off your friend Glazier?
Well, he hasn't got it.
What?
Of course he hasn't.
Well, who has then?
You have.
What?
You took it off Ben's bedside table.
As a matter of fact, I didn't.
Pull the other one. Tell us where it is, and then we're in business.
I can't.
Why?
I promise you, I didn't take it.
You're telling the truth.
As a matter of fact, I am. Glazier took it. It's perfectly obvious.
It wasn't you.
Of course not. Weren't we dancing?
Good night, Hector.
Maggie, darling, where are you going?
Good night.
I thought we were going on somewhere.
Sir?
Like your flat. What?
Sir.
Oh.
Tipper doesn't taste the same out of Scotland. What do your boyfriend say about it? An interesting little kipper, but it doesn't travel well. He's lying to you.
No.
What?
No, I know he wasn't. He swallowed my story hook, line and sinker. We were going to do a deal, avoiding Klinsky's, finding a mad collector and cheating the family. We'd shaken hands on it.
That's all you shook.
That was quite enough. So I asked him about producing the goods, and he said he hadn't stolen anything. He sounded quite apologetic, really.
Well, who did you reckon had?
Well, you, of course. He thought I'd get it off you, and then we'd do a deal. You haven't got it by any chance? So, Who else is there? Mother?
Gone mad and stolen their own property.
Burglar?
Cat bibliophile shilling up a drainpipe after nothing but a Dickens story. Henry Quarles in a stocking mask. Don't you find that rather improbable?
The other brother, Mike.
Well, anyone who hates Dickens is capable of any enormity.
Hello. Janet Bovington. We met at the Moat House.
Oh, yes, of course.
I'm looking for Mr. Glazier.
Ah, well, he's not here just at the moment. Can I help?
I don't think so. It's about, well, this missing manuscript. The Dickens story. I've got something to tell him.
Well, couldn't you tell me?
Well, I guess not. No, it should be Mr. Glazier. It is important. Do you think he'll see me?
I think he might. You'll probably find him in his dressing gown, eating kippers. Oh, Camilla.
I've got to talk to you. Not in here.
Oh, where?
Anywhere. Anywhere away from your new assistant.
Oh, Annabel Stradling-Smith. She's frightfully upper class.
I don't know about Smith. She's certainly straddling Bernard Holloway. Oh, Maggie, what's the world coming to? Bernard's unfaithful. Is it true Ben Glazier has stolen something?
I'm going to tell you the truth. In complete confidence, Mr. Glazier.
Are you?
Mike took it.
What?
Oh, yes, I'm sure of it. My husband took the manuscript that night you were at the Moat House.
Did he tell you that?
Of course not. There are a lot of things he hasn't told me. He's very proud. He's ashamed about doing so little for me, that we have to live here in the cold on not much money, that he can't get tenure at a proper university in the States. That's why he took it, of course, to get the money to write.
You've seen it?
He wouldn't show it to me. He wouldn't say anything. The English are like that, aren't they? Scared of their mothers. And that horrible old nursemaid they keep on years after their kids grew up. The English are all scared of their nannies.
So I believe.
Okay, I'll tell you how I know about Mike. I took a couple of sleepers that night you were down at the Moat House. The cold keeps me awake, you see. Well, I'd gone right off, but something woke me. It was Mike getting out of bed. I know what you're going to say. He didn't go to the John, because that's another door. Think of it. An ensuite bathroom in the ice house. No, he went out of the door that leads into the corridor. Other bedrooms.
He's unfaithful. 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 I thought you quite liked that. What?
Bernard being unfaithful to his wife. With you.
The ghastly thing is, now he's being unfaithful to both of us. The ingratitude. When I think what I've done for that marriage.
Of course, I ought to tell you to go straight to the police.
But you're not going to, are you?
No.
You're too much of a businessman.
Or tell the rest of the family.
They must never get to know. Look, I need your help. As someone who knows the inside out of the art world.
You mean as a crook?
I didn't say that. But Mike's got it, I'm damn sure of that. Well, he can't have a clue what to do with it. I figured an art dealer like you would know how to sell it off quietly. And no one hears a word about it.
I'll have to go and see someone.
Someone who might help us.
I hope so, very much.
Oh, back again?
I'm afraid so. Like the Spectre at the feast.
Everything's going rather wrong here, I'm afraid.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Nanny's not been well, not at all well. How on earth are we going to manage without Nanny Tucker? Without our tower of strength?
Mrs. Bovington, about the manuscript.
Oh, you've come about that again, of course. Bringing trouble.
No one has gone to the police.
Police? Oh, good heavens, no. Well, we don't want that, do we? Not the police. You, haven't found it back at your office or anything? No, of course not. Well, it's, lost. That's all about it.
It disappeared down here, I'm afraid. Everyone seems to be accusing everyone else of stealing it.
Everyone?
Janet thinks her husband did it.
Has she said anything to anyone?
To me.
Oh, ridiculous woman. Why didn't she go and live in a greenhouse? She must have rotten circulation.
Hector's convinced I did it. He's complained to Klinsky's.
Oh, dear, poor you. You're not in any sort of trouble, are you, Mr. Glazier?
Not much. I think I managed to resign before they sacked me.
You are in trouble, and I'm sorry for it. And I'm sure that Nanny Tucker will be quite distressed to hear that.
I can't see why Nanny Tucker should care about my problems.
All the same, I'm sure she'll want a visit from you. As soon as she knows you're in trouble. There. There's some nice soup for you, Nanny.
Nice soup? You didn't make it, did you?
No, Nanny. Out of a tin.
Oh, thank God for that. She's no cook, you know. She wasn't even when she was a little girl. Later on, when she married Mr. Bovington, we dreaded the girls' night out. Hester's castle pudding laid on your stomach like lead, it did. I reckon that's what really finished poor Mr. Bovington off in the end. Well, he hadn't a lot of strength, God help him. But what finished him off was indigestion, what he got on the girls' night off.
Nanny, you say the most terrible things.
It's the truth, Hester. Nasty medicine, the truth is. I know, but it gets you cleared out in the end. I won't have any more of that, and that's for sure. You can take the tray away, Hester.
Thank you, Nanny. No, you won't tire Nanny out, will you, Mr. Glazier?
To take more than him to tire me out, that's for sure. Hester tells me you're losing your job. You're not to do that.
I don't see how I can help it. Unless you have something to tell me.
It was never intended.
What was intended, actually?
They were always difficult boys. All right when they were on their own sometimes, but always arguing. Well, they hated each other. Wanted to score off each other in some nasty way. I think that's why Master Michael's behaving as he is with Mrs. Hector.
With Mouseskin?
She's not such a mouseskin as all that, I can tell you. She probably led him on. And now she doesn't sleep with Master Hector. I've seen young Master Mike creeping along the corridor in his gym jams. A corridor creeper. That's what Mr. Bovington would have called his likes.
So that's what he was up to.
Well, he was always a dirty little boy.
And he and Hector always quarrelled?
Oh, the whole time. I mean, there was one row over a train set that their father bought for Christmas. They fought over that endlessly. Their mother cried over it. Their father couldn't stop it. So I did what I had to.
And that was?
Packed it all up and put it out for the dustman.
And the Dickens manuscript?
Oh, well, you should never have seen that thing. When Hester told me about it, I told her what it would bring. Trouble. You were here that night. Whose is it? Who'll get the money? When will we get our hands on the cash? Well, I'm the eldest. No, well, I'm the cleverest. No, you're not. Yes, I am. Oh, arguing their heads off until it was well past their bedtime. Just like they used to over a packet of Smarties. There was only one thing to do.
So you took it from my bedroom?
Tell them it's lost, I said to Esther. Tell them it's gone. Then they can shut up arguing and finish the tea. Oh, no, she said, they'll find it wherever I put it. Get rid of it entirely, I said. There's a good girl, Hester. It's nasty medicine, but it'll come right in the end. There was one good thing about Hester. She was so very obedient.
Thank you very much for telling me.
So all right, dear. Now Nanny's tired. I must get my 40 winks.
I so love bonfires. Do you like bonfires, Mr. Glazier?
I suppose it depends what they're made of. You always burn things around here.
I move it and then dig it over. Fire's awfully good for the soil. Makes it so rich.
I think that's yours.
Was mine, wasn't it? So, I can do what I like with it, can't I?
She burnt it. And isn't that arson or something?
Bad luck on Dickens.
Bad luck in Oliver's. We've lost a Dickens story.
Rather hard luck on Hector Bollington, a very distinguished member of Parliament.
Yes. Let's look on the bright side.
Things aren't altogether bad.
Yes. Muriel, you're coming in? Oh, good. With Camilla? Right now? Now, I'll have to ask you both to go.
Quite understand. Another meeting.
I'm afraid so.
I want to show you another object of my desire.
Shall I be jealous?
Horribly. There she is. Can I give you a lift home?
How could a girl resist it?
You found out?
Of course I found out. How could I help finding out? You made it so obvious. Ducking into improbable restaurants, hiding in doorways, making ridiculous phone calls on the extension at home.
He can't be discreet about anything. I think he wants people to know.
It's his past in supermarket advertising.
Yes, I suppose it is that.
Don't think I minded about Camilla. She's a nice woman, really, and old enough not to do anything stupid. Also, she gave me time to get on with my own life, which I don't intend to tell you about. The point is, we've talked it over, Camilla and I, and we've come to a clear decision.
You've got to give up Annabel Stradling Smith.